Hi, in this video I'd like to teach how to checkmate with king and rook versus lion king. So, the first thing to know is, while there's just a king and rook versus lion king, which is the material we're given in this exercise, the lion king cannot be checkmated in the center of the board. The lion king needs to be pushed all the way to the H file, H vertical row of squares, the eighth rank, eighth horizontal row of squares, the A file, the A vertical row of squares, or the first rank, horizontal row of squares. Any of those edges of the board, the king needs to be forced to. And both pieces, king and rook, need to be active in hunting down the lion king for checkmate. Also, white has 50 moves, or roughly 50 moves to perform the checkmate. Otherwise, black can claim a draw. If they can prove it's been 50 moves, or around 50 moves, I don't know if it's 49 or 50 moves, around 50 moves, that there's been no pawn move or capture made by both sides, black can claim a draw on roughly 50 moves. The 50 move rule, which is a type of draw. So, also we've got to use, opposition between the two kings. White's got to use the opposition against black. I don't know how to teach a definition of opposition, so I suggest you research opposition between kings. It's a weapon that we're going to use in this exercise as white. Black can't ever win the opposition because black doesn't have any pieces. So, but white can, because white's got a move to pass with the rook. So white can never lose the opposition due to having the rook. But because black's only got a king, black can never win the opposition. Only lose it. So we're going to use the opposition as a weapon against black. So I'm not going to count the moves because I know how to checkmate. And even if I am solving 50 moves, which I doubt, or around 50 moves, then it'll help. What I mean is black's not going to claim a draw in this exercise, even if I am solving 50 moves. But I doubt I will be. Anyway, let's get on with it. So we'll go here with the king. Activate the least active piece because the king is slower than the rook. If black tries to get the opposition, we can't lose it because we've got the extra rook. Only black can lose opposition because they've got no pieces other than the king. So we're going to go rook to d3, the third rank, lined up with the d file d3. So we're going to go here. What that does is, now the black king, is locked into this little area of the board, trapped within it, and over here. So the king is stuck in this little area, and I'm going to keep pushing the black king to the edge of the board. So, and the king defends the rook, the white king protects the white rook, because we can't take, because that's illegal from check. Kings can't stand that close to each other. So, if the king goes this way, then what we could do is put the king in a little area. So now the king can't stand on the fourth rank, the fourth horizontal row of squares, because the rook controls it. So the king can't step forward. We don't give a check because the king just remains in the center. We want to stop the king going forward. So we don't give useless checks. We stop the king going forward. Put the rook on the fourth rank so the king can't stand on it. And keep the rook on the d file for now to stop the king standing on the d vertical row of squares. If the king attacks our rook, we defend it, taking the opposition, and the rook's defended. So if the king goes directly backward, we can't do this because then we lose the rook, and it's a draw from both sides having insufficient material. So we take the opposition. If the king goes directly backward, we take the opposition. If the king goes over here, then we would play the rook to the 6th rank, so the king can't step forward. This g6 square's under attack from the rook, so the king can't step on it. So if the king, let's say the king b is difficult to make our challenge harder to checkmate. Say the king goes to g7 instead. What we do is there's a number of things we could do. A couple of good options that come to my mind. We could chase the king because the king doesn't want to line up with our king. It doesn't want to line up. So because if the king does line up, which is a bad idea, then we give a check, forcing the king backwards because the king can't step towards the white king. It's illegal, so the king would have to step backwards, which is what we want. But say the king goes over. Oh, the king did go over there. Or we could play rook to f6, putting the king in that little corner. So the king can't step on the f file or the 6th rank because of the rook, and the white king guards the right rook from the black king. Taking it is illegal once again because of check from the king. So the king defends the rook. See how the pieces are working together? The white king and the white rook are working together to do the checkmate. So if the king goes over to, it doesn't matter which square out of h7 and g7, or g8, sorry, g8, they're edges of the board, which is what we want. The easiest square, probably the worst attempt, but it's hopeless for black if white knows how to win. The worst attempt to survive this would be h8 because then it's a lot easier. We would go rook g6, and if the king attacks, then we defend. But say the king is not as cooperative, say the king goes to a harder square to checkmate on, then, like say, king goes to g8 instead, making it a little bit harder. What we would do is we would move the king around the rook. So we'd put the king over here. The king could go over here to h7. We would put the rook on g6. See how the rook's on the h file, one of the edges? We're going to keep the rook on the g file for now, so that the king can't escape the h file. The only move for black is to go to h8. Whoops, put that on the board. Now the king has got to chase the king. So we're going to try and line up with the king, with the black king, want to chase him. So the only move for black is to put the king on h7. Line up with the king. The black doesn't want to look at the white king. But white does. And then the only move is king h8. And here there's a one move checkmate. There's a rook h6 checkmate because the rook attacks with check on the h file, and the king can't step to the g file because it'll be taken by the white king on f7. So if we go here, it's check, which is illicit to put ourselves in. King to g7 is illicit from check from the king. And if we stay on the h file, which is all we can do, or step to a g file, we're still in check from the rook on h6. So no matter what, there's always going to be a check remaining to the black king, and we're in check currently. Because there's a check and there's no defense, check has been upgraded to checkmate and black loses. Thank you for watching. Bye.